received emails about that this week.
Love
what
your mask. Wear your neighbor.
I said, wear your mask, love your neighbor. I was in cell block 4 with Sean this week, man.
Number 3.
CB4.
You said 3.
CB4.
They beat you while you were in there?
And I was in there. Me and Sean and Rachel got arrested for worshiping in the public square, but while not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Really?
And I went to jail where you don't have to wear a mask. The order specifically says you don't have to wear a mask in jail.
No, time out. Were you guys really in the cell with no mask on?
Yeah.
Oh,
Next to each other?
Yeah.
And so were the officers.
No way.
Yeah.
I thought...
So you get arrested for not wearing a mask in public, and then they go and put you in a jail where you aren't wearing a mask.
That's
Free not to.
COVID,
This is the spookiest virus I've ever heard of.
COVID doesn't go into jail cells.
Well, apparently, because deputies weren't wearing masks either.
Right.
We just want to specifically thank everybody who's been so kind and generous to us.
I mean all the messages.
We got baskets of cookies.
Right
here. I mean, all the messages that we haven't been able to respond to.
Yeah.
Everyone reaching out.
I thought I got the basket of cookies from Colonial Heights. Actually, when it came in, Pastor Doug thought it was for him at first, and he tried to take it from me. But I said no, and then I thought it was for all 3 of us. And then turns out all 3 of us got a basket.
So whoever's in Colonial Heights, Virginia, thank you. Thank you much.
Right.
Man, wow.
Yeah.
Salute
Cheers
you
to you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
They sent one to each of you because they knew you wouldn't share.
They've seen our girth.
Don't be talking about.
Hey, make sure you guys download the app, share the show.
Oh, man.
It's a great way to be engaging with us. I'm sorry that all conference registration has been shut down, but somehow after I shut down conference registration, 15 more people somehow registered. So
My kind of people.
lucky you guys.
Yeah,
the
like-
extra 15.
They like hacked into the system
I don't
or
know.
something.
I just didn't do it. So we're looking forward to seeing everyone in Tennessee, and I think Tennessee just got a little more rowdy.
Yeah.
I think just a little more.
I mean,
rowdy.
people are like, so singing psalms.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're doing that.
Beer and so, and we didn't even have beer at City Hall. There wasn't even beer at City Hall. We did it.
There were no masks, though.
The other thing that has been going on, people have been asking how you can help, how you can reach out and help. We've had tons of people reach out, and the best way to help us is join our club. Support us. Go to crosspolitic.com, join our club.
You can also donate to Gabe's Latah County race
Campaign, yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if we can do that on a for-profit show, but
why not?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if it's campaign law.
So
but I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
Are you telling me that if anybody
didn't say
wants to donate to your campaign, that we can't tell them to do that?
You might be able to. I can't.
We can't.
I don't know if I'm
Okay, be quiet.
Yeah. Okay.
Give to Gabe's campaign.
You know what my website
we didn't
is?
say that.
You know what my website is?
Did you have a website?
Gabe for commissioner.
No.
Gabe for Idaho.
No.
Gabe,
It's obvious Toby has not donated to my campaign.
Google it. Google it.
All right, how do we turn this?
Just don't run for governor, and then it'd be Goob Gabe.
So we've got Sean and Rachel on with us. We've talked with Gabe already. We talked to him on Wednesday night, but as they already noted, Sean and Gabe were in the cell block together.
Yeah.
These are the 3 individuals that were arrested at our Flash Psalm Sing last Wednesday.
Yeah.
There were a couple other people that were cited, given citations. But
Tyler was in the studio with us that Friday.
That's right. But these 3 in particular were the ones that were arrested. And so we're really thankful, proud of you guys, thankful for your faithfulness, your graciousness. And, of course, as you know, the whole interaction between you and the police was caught on video. It's going viral.
Over 1 million views on one video I've seen already.
And we want to walk through that video with you today.
Yeah, let's do it.
Was grace that taught my heart.
She's so pretty. Look at her go.
So how did they pick you out?
Well, I'm the tall, lanky white guy who's not a threat. I was close to the edge. I was also dressed as a pumpkin.
But were you guys even close to? I mean, how did they know you were 6 feet apart?
As Gabe was on one edge, I was like on that other edge opposite.
Right.
Okay.
So we were close. We were first pickings.
And so then the officer comes up to your wife first.
And what does he ask?
No, he came up. I mean, he came up to me. I was
Okay.
closest to the posse as they rolled out, and kind of like, hey, are you guys in the same household? Yes. What about them? No, not in the same household. Would you social distance? No, thank you. Well, but you have to. No, I prefer not to. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of kept going.
Wow.
Just back up.
No, sir.
I need you to just back up.
What a soundtrack to this going down.
Rachel has noted this is great because it highlights the musicality of our church and friends.
And some boldness, too.
Yeah. So at this point, what are they saying right now?
So I think at this point, we've agreed to be arrested effectively. This is kind of like, hey, are you sure this is what you want to do? And I said, no, it's not what we want to do, but...
Did they ask you for ID?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And, I didn't expect the police to be there. I didn't expect the police to engage like this. So I had to think this through in the moment. Like, at one point, I had my wallet out, like, oh, okay. And then I was like, well, actually, I don't think this is right. And so we put it back. And actually, Rachel gave her ID, and I was like, I don't think we should do this. And she's like, may I have that back?
There's a few things that are happening. One of them, I think, just happened, and this is another part of it. I started crying at the part, this part right here, actually, because what you hear is actually saying, hey, can we go back and sing while you guys do what you need to do?
We're gonna sing while we wait.
Can we go sing while we wait? But another part was, right in the beginning, you can see the officer is talking to your wife, and you say, hey, I'm going to speak for us.
Yeah.
And dude, that was such a man, father, husband, leader role. I was like, when I grow up, I want to be like that, man.
Gosh.
And watching this, look at this, this is crazy.
Shout out to Knox, taking my contus, keeping safe.
They didn't cite him, though, did they?
My contus ended up in prison. It came with me to
I
Latah
wish it
County
would have
Jail.
made it in.
Yeah.
I realized I didn't have a lot.
But and that's something else I was telling Pastor Toby. Like, I don't think I have enough Psalms memorized.
Click.
Click,
I can testify.
and all the hands go up.
Yeah. Fantastic. So good.
Nice of them to wait for the song to end.
This is what I want to bring. That's a. I can't. I don't want to miss this part.
Today, a committee was formed, the Committee for a Referendum on Masks. We are working on...
Good job, son. Great job!
That's my first time to see that.
If they would have waited just 15 more seconds, they didn't have to do anything.
It's all over.
So they waited for the psalm to end. So that's nice. Very kind. Wait 15 more seconds, and you can tell your officer,
It's all done.
or chief of police, that nobody was here.
Going to community group now. Thank you.
Right. 15 more seconds, and it would have been all done.
15-minute psalm sing. The whole thing was done in 15 minutes.
Right.
It's 3 songs and a doxology.
So, how are you guys handling this right now?
Rachel, why don't you go first?
Okay. Yeah. I think I personally, they got to have kind of a party together in cell block 4 or whatever.
It was 3.
I must have been the only female prisoner in the county jail because I was by myself.
Oh, wow.
But I did, one of my favorite moments of all of that was while I was being searched in the jail. You guys had already been taken to the block, but I could hear you singing.
Sean got the rubber glove treatment.
So
You can hear them singing from your cell.
I couldn't hear them singing I could hear them singing from their cell
From
while
their
I was
cell.
still in the hallway. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
What were you guys
My
singing?
shoes and things.
We were singing "Oh, the Deep Love,"
Well,
"Holy,
that's
Holy,
the
Holy."
thing. You kind of
One verse of each song.
Yeah, we're like, hey, let's sing. Yeah. What do you want to sing? Oh, I don't. I usually just read it. So there's a lot of like, how's that one go?
So that was one thing that we said afterwards. I was like, do I have 5 psalms memorized that I could sing right now?
Yeah.
If I got locked up, what was it? Do I have that?
I remember watching our brothers and sisters in China.
Yes.
Remember last year as a bunch of them
Yeah.
were getting cracked down on, particularly at Early Rain Covenant Church,
Yeah.
and there was others, and they were getting taken in, and then they were coming out, and they would sing hymns and psalms and videotape themselves at the police station as they're being released after they've been detained,
Right.
singing at the top of their lungs and from memory.
Yeah.
And rejoicing in the Lord. But you're right. If we're going to be prepared for that,
We better have this.
we got to have some songs memorized.
What I don't want to mess. I know you guys still have a legal case to fight, but do you guys? Was it worth it? Well, I mean, why didn't you just submit? Just put on the mask. Was it worth it to get arrested?
I don't think we had time to really think about if it was worth it or not. Like I think I mentioned, I wasn't expecting the police to there. I thought when I did see them, they were there just to keep the peace.
Right.
And then when Pastor Doug made
Right.
the announcement
That's what I thought. Yeah.
that they're going to do this, I thought it was more of a bluff, and not like to discredit them, but I thought it was going to be like, we're going to educate you. Right?
You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't tell people to drink from that water fountain, would you?
Right.
Or maybe they would at least maybe they give a citation or something like that. But
Yeah. And so it just, and then, of all people, we were approached as like, oh, well. So in retrospect, looking back, I'm really glad we did that, and we would do it again, partly because we don't believe the order is a legitimate one. So, they lead with probable cause. So show me your ID. I think you're breaking a crime. And it's like, no, sir, I don't think I'm breaking a crime because that's not a real law. It's not something that really has to be observed.
Right. Nor do you have to enforce it either.
Right.
Right.
And I think at one point in the video I said, I think this is a healthy civil pressure because it's like.
You said that to the cop?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, you move and go away. And it's like, no, you go away. Like, leave us alone kind of thing. And see who goes.
Pastor Doug, you're leading the singing. You're on the video as well.
Well, this is all your fault.
And
Yes.
well, first of all, it's Jesus' fault.
It was all a plot to get you in jail. and the Bohnets were kind of swept in.
What's going through your mind? What's going through your mind while the Psalms are being sung? You saw Gabe get handcuffed.
Right.
And he was right in front of you. I don't know if you noticed the Bohnets being handcuffed.
Not until
after.
I was giving the final announcement, and everybody started to applaud. That's when I noticed he was being
So what's going through your mind when you realize, oh, they're going to go here?
Right. So I was not up to speed on what was actually transpiring. So I saw the interaction between the policeman and Gabe, but I wasn't aware of what was being said or not said.
The conversation.
What the conversation was. So it was going to have to be one of those things where you fill in the details after the fact,
right,
and find out what happened later.
Yeah.
And but basically, they were there, and we were to discover how far they were prepared to go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think it blew up in their face
Right.
because when you look at the way the country is going, with cities burning down and city governments not, ordering their police departments to stand down and not protect shops, and cities burning and windows smashed and all of this chaos, and typical Americans watching their America go up in a sheet of flame,
right,
and then to have the mayor of Moscow order his police to arrest somebody in the middle of singing "Amazing Grace."
Right.
Yeah. Incredible.
Don't you have any idea what the optics for this for you are going to be?
Right.
And,
While he's in pictures officiating a wedding a few weeks ago,
right,
without mask, without social distancing,
right,
and spluttering excuses why it was okay.
So basically what it boils down to, for kudos again to the Bohnets, this video footage here, in terms of striking a blow for liberty on this whole masking issue nationwide, that's $10 million. That's a $10 million ad buy.
That's right.
Right there.
Yeah.
And we didn't do it.
No.
It was orchestrated for us by the Moscow city government.
Right. And the providence of God.
Right.
I mean, what people meant for evil, God is totally a meaning for good
Right.
in all of this. And we've even kind of internally talked through, you've probably done this together, but there's so many uncanny details of just the day prior to this. I mean, we had Aaron Snell in the studio talking about beer and Psalms.
That was the morning of.
And the Psalms singing. It was the morning of.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Psalms as warfare, worship as warfare, why we were going to have Psalm singing at the conference in Franklin next week. And so we already prepped it that way, and we told people on the show, hey, there's going to be this flash Psalm sing tonight. again, we do this all the time.
Yeah.
If you live here in town, we sing psalms. We sing psalms out in public.
Hey, today's Tuesday. Let's go sing some songs.
And we've done flash
What
psalm
we
sings
do.
before. We've done 15-minute. Hey, we're going to meet downtown and sing 3 psalms and doxology and out.
We have a day called Beer and Psalms on Wednesday.
Yeah. Anyways, we do that. And then Pastor Ben Merkel, Elder Ben Merkel, President Ben Merkel of NSA, he gives the midweek message Wednesday afternoon and closes with the example of Paul and Silas in prison and singing hymns.
Right.
And the exhortation is, be that kind of Christian, ready to sing psalms in jail.
Not many people know in Acts, when they were locked up in jail, Silas turned to Paul and said, I bet the acoustics are great in here.
That's what we saw.
Like, oh.
If you've ever sang a psalm in a jail
Ringing.
cell, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm deaf in one ear and I sound good.
So, guys, there's going to be more psalm singing going on even this week and to come. Are you guys going to be there?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, we had a really good debrief this morning. I mean, so much has happened quickly, and we went to bed at 2 a.m. that night, and I still had to get up and teach at 6 a.m. that morning. So it's not like, well, let's take a vacation and really think about what just happened and what we should do. Rachel's got to drive over to Washington and go to work. So, but this morning we had a moment to talk through everything. What did we do? was that a good thing? Okay, why? Okay, and like I briefly alluded to, we glad we did it, and would plan to do it again. Not to escalate things, but it's still holding to the principle that we're not criminals, we're not breaking a law because they don't have the power. It's not even a good law either.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's not a constitutional law. Everything.
My mind is, and we have to end the segment, but my mind is just racing. Right now, we are here where we were 60 years ago. And I spent my time looking for people who stood up for me. Mm-hmm. And who would have been there when the water fountains or the fire hoses were turned on and the dogs were sicked on them. And I saw you guys. And I said, those are the warriors I want to stand next to. Mm-hmm. Those are the people that are not going to let me rot when times get hard. And not only did I see that, but I get raged and I want to fight. And I saw you and I was like, Knox, that's how you fight. Peacefully, kindly, loving your neighbor. You gave that officer every reason to have coals heaped on his head with fear of like, man, did I just really do that?
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
I think that the look
Thank you, sister.
Yeah, the look on that, especially that female cop's face as she's cuffing you guys, is sheer terror.
Well, an interesting note. So I have a police officer friend in a big city, and he was kind of up in arms. He's showing everyone in his department, and they're like, "Oh, this is trash. This is garbage." And the cuffs they I think put on both of us, at least me, are like kind of the very stringent ones for felonies. It's like I've had over 100 arrests, deal with felonies, and I've never used those cuffs. And I don't think they were trying to flex something there, but it's kind of another weird detail of it all.
Wow.
I just want to.
How many views has this video gotten?
It's over 1 million.
Over 1 million?
It's over 1 million.
Yeah.
Over
That's
1 million.
unbelievable.
And everybody needs to watch it. Everybody needs to share it.
Unbelievable.
Share it again if you already shared it once.
This is only the beginning, and I just say I'm happy to know you guys, and I want to be like you when I grow up. Hey, more cross politics coming up next. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Sean, Rachel.
So in 2016, we found out that our youngest son, Asher, had cancer. And I will just never forget crying in the lobby of the hospital on the phone with the Samaritan Ministries person on the other end who was, who ended the call saying, let's just pray about this.
When it does hit you and you really wonder what's going to happen, it worked.
It continues to be affordable, it works, and it pays the bills.
Hi, I'm Robert Borton, CEO of Classical Conversations. Our most precious commodity is time. No one has ever lied on their deathbed wishing they had spent more time making money. They all wish they had spent more time creating a legacy. Our modern education system steals that legacy, steals that time from our children. That's why I'm passionate about homeschooling. That's why at Classical Conversations we want to give you more time to create that legacy, follow your passions, and glorify God. Visit classicalconversations.com for more information.
making me cry up in here.
They did that. They did that. I'm not, don't blame that on me.
Welcome back to Cross Politic on the one and only Fight Laugh Feast Network. Thank you for joining us. We're so grateful to have Pastor Doug Wilson back in the studio with us.
Hi. And make sure you're up on his blog through all this.
Yeah.
DougWills.com.
Yeah.
You got to be on that.
But everybody knows that blog already. Everybody knows. Oh, yeah.
If you don't know about that blog?
If you don't know, shame on you. What's wrong with you people?
Oh, man. It's been interesting. So we're here in Moscow, and we've been on the news.
Yes.
I mean, like the real news. I mean, we're on the news. But,
We are the news.
I mean, the main news is here, but, Fox, one of those guys, they had Gabe on, Laura Ingraham.
Yeah. Glenn Beck.
Tucker
Tucker's
Carlson.
playing the video.
He played a video.
Yeah.
But so that's going on. And meanwhile, actually, last Wednesday, when
2 days.
When you were.
This is Sunday, so last Wednesday.
When you were arrested, when Sean and Rachel were arrested, that same evening, there's riots going on in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah.
As a result of the
Breonna Taylor.
The Breonna Taylor report, or was it an AG report?
They had been launching an investigation for about 4 months into what actually happened. And I've been kind of quiet with this because at first I was all over it. Like, okay, you can't just bust in somebody's house and just kill them. That's just wrong.
Oh, come on.
And you still can't do that. It's still wrong, just to be clear.
You must be a theonomist.
Well, I've been called that before. But, you can't just do that. And then, and so I started seeing other things that were happening, such as why were the police even there?
Right.
So they were there because they had tape recordings in prison of her ex-boyfriend who had said she had stashed his bag, his money for him, other place. And so she had somehow been connected with him. And so they had reason to believe that she was involved in some way.
Right.
Now she hadn't she had been broken up for him for 2 years, but yet there were still more recent conversations.
And there was surveillance of her in her apartment, right? And there's other drug dealers and runners kind of going in and out.
The same people who were connected with her ex-boyfriend were still somehow engaged with the relation with. We don't know what to end to why, but that's why they were there. So it makes sense. Okay, there wasn't just that, and who fired the first shot?
Right.
Why did they fire the first shot? What actually happened before you can say, well, this is not as... And every one of these cases, I'm realizing one isn't like the other perfectly at all. And actually,
they want you to think it is, though.
They want you to think that everything is Tamir Rice.
Yeah.
Officer walked up and shot the boy. Everybody wants you to think that's what... When actually, it's way more complicated than that. And as Christians, we want to be able to say, well, okay, how messy is it? And do we have enough biblical theology to wade through that mess?
Right.
And I think we do. And so I want to work through everybody right now is saying, just looking at what got deliberated. They're not going to charge any of the other officers, just one officer with reckless endangerment, I believe it is.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of bullets that flew,
Yeah.
like over 40 bullets, around 40 bullets, something like that.
Most of them from the cops.
Most of them from the police, actually, all but one.
All but one.
All but one from what we know right now is from the police officers.
Whoa.
And so everyone is upset because of they're charging at least one officer with reckless endangerment. And so people are flooding the streets. I'm like, did anybody watch what the attorney general said? Maybe it's important to watch and see what they actually found. So that's what we want to do.
A black man, interestingly.
As if it even matters. But, I guess if you're going to take the blindfolds off of Lady Justice, then if we're going to play that game, okay, yes, he is.
Right.
Evidence shows that officers both knocked and announced their presence at the apartment. The officers' statements about their announcement are corroborated by an independent witness who was near in proximity to apartment 4. In other words, the warrant was not served as a no-knock warrant. When officers were unable to get anyone to answer or open the door to apartment 4, the decision was made to breach the door. After breaching the door, Sergeant Mattingly was the first and only officer to enter the residence. Sergeant Mattingly identified 2 individuals standing beside one another at the end of the hall, a male and a female. In his statement, he says that the male was holding a gun, arms extended, in a shooting stance. Sergeant Mattingly saw the man's gun fire, heard a boom, and immediately knew he was shot as a result of feeling heat in his upper thigh. Kenneth Walker fired the shot that hit Sergeant Mattingly, and there is no evidence to support that Sergeant Mattingly was hit by friendly fire from other officers. Mr. Walker admitted that he fired one shot and was the first to shoot. In addition to all the testimony, The ballistics report shows that the round that struck Sergeant Mattingly was fired from a 9mm handgun. The LMPD officers fired 40 caliber handguns. Sergeant Mattingly returned fire down the hallway. Mattingly fired 6 shots. Almost simultaneously, Detective Cosgrove, also in the doorway, shot 16 times. This all took place in a matter of seconds. In total, 6 bullets struck Ms. Taylor. Medical evidence obtained by our team indicates that only 1 shot was fatal. Further medical evidence shows that Ms. Taylor would have died from the fatal shot within a few seconds to 2 minutes after being struck. Detective Hankinson fired his weapon 10 times, including from an outside sliding glass door and through a bedroom window. Some bullets traveled through apartment 4 and into apartment 3 before some exited that apartment. At the time, 3 residents of apartment 3 were at home, including a male, a pregnant female, and a child. There is no conclusive evidence that any bullets fired from Detective Hankinson's weapon struck Ms. Taylor. The KSP ballistics analysis did not identify which of the 3 officers fired the fatal shot. After receiving that information, I asked the FBI crime lab to conduct its own analysis to see if they reached the same results. The FBI ballistics analysis concluded the fatal shot was fired by Detective Cosgrove. After hearing the evidence from our team of prosecutors, the grand jury voted to return an indictment against Detective Hankinson for 3 counts of wanton endangerment for wantonly placing the 3 individuals in apartment 3 in danger of serious physical injury or death. The charge of wanton endangerment in the first degree is a Class D felony.
Okay,
and if found guilty, the accused can.
So part of what everyone is upset about is like, wait a second. You got a dead woman in one room from officers firing over 40 bullets, around 40 bullets there, and then you don't charge them, but then you have people who are alive, but because they could have been killed,
that officer gets charged.
That officer gets charged with reckless endangerment? So then what do you call what happened in the other room? And so, and I think this is valid, and I think this is extremely valid, but it's important to note something. The warrant that they have, that they exercised, the no-knock warrant. I mean, me and Gabe got into this earlier. I know it was exercised as a knock warrant, but they still busted the door down. The authority is that with the no-knock, they get entry.
They don't have to wait for it to be open.
They don't have to wait for it to be open. They can bust that joker down. Mm-hmm. And so they did. They busted the door down, and the man in the house, Mr. Walker, Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, fired a shot. Why is he firing the shot?
Someone broke into his house in the middle of the night.
And her ex-boyfriend is a thug.
Right.
Right. So, how do I know it's not him coming in the house to us? Because we said, we ain't doing this. Stop sending your people over to our house. We don't have nothing to do with him no more. And here comes his people again coming back in our. How do we know that it's not them?
Who is this?
Who is coming in our door? I don't care if you said you were a police officer. Yeah. I don't see.
People can lie about that all day.
Dude, you know. So okay. So,
but this is all set up though by the law that allows this.
That's my point. Yep. That's my point. So, and even talking to my other friends that are sergeants that had to exercise no-knock warrants before, they said, "Listen, this is a dangerous situation." And I want everybody, my officers and the people in the house, to walk away alive, and we can figure the rest of this out in court. He's like, so when I go and exercise warrants or no knocks like this, he's like, I knock on the door in the morning when they're just waking up, so that they know I'm not trying to,
and 12:30 at night,
broad daylight,
and then I do a low key conversation at the door with them until I get in. And then and said more than 90% of what I have with no knocks end very well.
Yeah.
And so there are ways to do this, but what he's trying to do is he's trying to balance between what the law says and what he knows is like, okay, this is not going to end well. This is wrong. Right. And he's trying to do that, and he does it in such a way to actually achieve the goal, but he's fighting against an unjust law to make the officers just have to go and knock in the door.
And to get to your point though, is so this law that allows for this, which is an easy setup for this kind of confusion, this kind of mess.
Right.
is what's protecting the officers who merely fired at Mr. What was his name? Walker? Mr. Walker and Breonna Taylor.
Right.
And so that's why there's no charges being brought against them.
Right.
Whereas the other officer who fires from the window or whatever is, has this light charge.
So the unjust law can't, because of what happens here, Mr. Walker's doing exactly what he's supposed to do. Somebody busts in his house, he shoots them. The police are doing exactly what they're supposed to do according to the unjust law. No knock. And then, so it ends up canceling each other out. But the actual law that protects and loves your neighbor is shining as bright as day right now. You can't endanger people just for the fun of it. Or even if you are doing something that's important, you have to be careful and you have to account for every bullet that takes place. Yeah. So the people who are in the other room have bullets flying to their apartment, and the law's like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
That's the one just law that's sitting there and saying, love your neighbor by being careful in how you act.
Yeah.
And so what we're seeing, everybody say, how come that one is there?
There's something, and so in the back of all this is, we've talked about this on the show a few times, but this is when you try to. This is an example of a sort of preventative law. The whole reason for a no-knock warrant is you're trying to prevent them from flushing drugs down the toilet or whatever, like running out or destroying evidence or whatever,
or surprising them so you can arrest them.
Yeah, and so it's this preventative thing. They might do something bad while I'm coming to serve this warrant, so give me the upper hand.
Right.
But the law of God is primarily, for civil magistrates, primarily punitive.
Right.
It primarily punishes a crime that has already taken place. And in that sense, it's preventative because it kind of puts a damper on the whole idea of crime.
Right. Yeah.
But when you start going down this path of preventative measures, it escalates everything. You can't ever account for everything that human beings are going to do. And so you start running down this path of, well, then I'll get ahead of them there and I'll get ahead of them there. But what you do is you end up with these creating manifestly unjust situations. Yeah. And before long, they're going to pass a law that says you got to wear masks and stay 6 feet apart or else we're going to come arrest you. I mean, that really is the end of
that's exactly
the end of that path.
You got to bring that connection down.
And so you have, in our situation right now, you have police, or not just our situation, America, you have police officers who are going to football games with the lady who's, I mean, there's nobody there. You got to see this clip. And then tasers a lady. Because,
do you want to show this first?
Oh, yeah, well, everybody knows what's happening right now in Kentucky. This happened pretty much that night.
Yeah,
after.
Right. This is the response.
So after you saw Attorney General, this was such a reasoned response. It makes so much sense. But this is what happened that night. And it didn't end there with them marching. What was it? 3 officers were shot?
Yeah, at least 2 were hospitalized.
Two officers were shot.
Yeah, and I think they're both expected to make it. One was released right away, and one had gone through abdominal surgery and was expected to recover.
But And then on the other side of the world, so you have that happening afterwards. I don't think they paid any attention to what Attorney General said. I don't think any of them watched what's going on. And then you have this other side where police officers are actually having to go to women who are in a football game. Who's around? What's the deal?
So she's not wearing a mask, and the officer.
I am.
I can't believe this.
This is over a mask. It's not.
Stop it! Let go of my wrist!
This is it's crazy.
His mask is coming down, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think he can arrest her for not wearing a mask.
Oh, contrary.
This is not a warning.
This is not a warning.
Call the cops.
I have a problem with that guy sitting
Yeah,
there.
you talk to them?
Yeah, he's just sitting there.
What do you
He's a
do?
real officer. It says police on the side and on his back. Doesn't mean anything. But he may be, Bridget, because there's a cop car over there. There's a cop car over there.
He's about to taser. He just tased her.
Now he got up. Now that guy got up.
Tase somebody over a mask. Tasing this lady over not wearing a damn mask.
What do you do?
Unbelievable.
What do you do? This is going on. What? And you're a guy
and his
there.
mask's now officially falling off.
And it's off his face by the time they walk down, and she points it out to him actually that.
Wow.
But you're sitting in that situation. That reminds me. It's like it's not. I've asked myself since the George Floyd situation. What do you do when you see something happening that you know like that should not be the case? Like that's wrong.
And it's an officer who's got a gun.
And it's the officer who's actually doing. What do you do at that point?
Yeah.
And so, I see that lady get arrested.
Yeah. What do you do, Doug, if you're sitting there in the stands?
And the best help that lady got was the person who filmed it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, what you need in a situation like that is accountability. If you go in there and take a swing at somebody,
Game over.
You're not going to help anybody with anything. But if you get your phone out and you document everything, then that's the most help you could be to her.
So why not physically intervene?
So, for example, go back to George Floyd, right? Everybody saw. Well, what everybody knows initially, like in the Breonna Taylor thing, I heard for months that it was a no-knock busting into the wrong apartment.
Yeah, wrong apartment.
Right.
Yeah.
She was just sleeping.
Who's against? Everybody's in favor of not letting people do that. That's what I heard for a long time.
Right.
On George Floyd and the Derek Chauvin thing, I saw everybody saw the footage of him kneeling on his neck.
Right.
And that's appalling.
Yeah.
And you're acting like if I walked in at that moment and that's what I saw, I think my behavior would have been very, very different if I'd seen the 10 minutes prior
of him kicking through the cop car.
Right, as you're saying.
So you want to make sure that before you jump in and do a vigilante thing against the cops, you want to be sure of all your facts. But if you photograph the police while they're arresting someone, that can be pieced together. So basically, it's not believe all women, believe blacks, believe whites, believe the blue line. It's believe the evidence. Right. So what you want to do is believe the evidence and capture as much of the...
And not merely believe 30 seconds of video footage.
Right.
I mean,
believe the evidence.
You recognize that it's bigger than that.
This morning, as I was thinking about this show and I'm thinking about what's going on, I've been for the longest pushing against a lot of the Black Lives Matter movement, because I know what they're after. I know what their goal is. And they're saying we're losing our freedoms. We don't have our freedoms. We don't have our liberties. And I'm like, man, yes, we do. This has been the best for the last, 60 years. God has been good to us here in this nation. And then I look at what happened to us just the other day at a psalm sing.
Right.
And I'm saying, wait a second. It seems like what they're yelling and what they're pointing to, they're yelling something right and pointing to something wrong. And yet we're saying, no, it's not happening to that. And yet I see something happening. I'm like, shouldn't we be pointing at this?
No, I think a secular right winger would say, no, it's not happening.
What's not happening?
Police misbehavior.
Yeah, I got emails
bad laws
about this thing.
Yeah.
So a secular right winger would say, our boys in blue, thin blue line, that's
right.
our side.
Okay.
I picked our side. And then the leftist activists would be anybody who's looting and pillaging in the name of Black Lives Matter. They're not going to do any wrong. Christians believe in the truth.
Yes.
So so if we're talking about the Attorney General of Kentucky talking, giving his statement, and you can point out that he's a black man, and I'd say, yeah, but what if what's coming out of his mouth is the truth?
Right.
What color is that?
Right.
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 If it's a lie, if it's a misrepresentation, what color is that?
Yeah.
Right. So we Christians are concerned about how much the truth weighs, and we want to weigh it and be judicious and committed to justice.
Right.
And if a cop misbehaves, and that's what the evidence shows,
right.
or if the law is a wrong-headed law, like the no-knock, it's a wrong-headed law, no-knock stuff, repeal the law.
Yeah.
Follow the evidence, follow the truth wherever it leads. And if it comes down against your side, your partisan side, that doesn't matter because the truth matters.
Right. And the thing that is, back to your point, is, and the truth protects all people.
Yes.
That's right.
When Jesus says the truth, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. That doesn't matter what color your skin is, doesn't matter what gender you are, doesn't matter where you're from. The truth is actually the thing that protects everyone. I remember thinking about this some in the aftermath of the Obergefell decision, mandating homosexual marriage or so-called homosexual marriage in all the states. And they did it in the name of actually helping homosexuals. And my thought was actually this homosexual jihad, this sexual liberation jihad is actually in the end going to end up crushing far more homosexuals than would have ever been crushed under biblical law.
Right.
Biblical law actually protects them because all the rest of it is all based on might makes right. Ultimately comes down to emotional appeal, screaming, rioting, violence, and trying to force something through. But if you can force something through, even if it's in the name of some real actual injustice, like a no-knock warrant being served and creating a mess, if you can do a mob justice thing there, then the mob doesn't care.
Right.
Mob doesn't care about truth, and mob will crush whoever's in its way. I mean, always remember that Robespierre, who led the French Revolution, got his head chopped off.
Right. And the thing is, no-knock warrants are a bad idea, but they're not a bad idea because you got a mob to burn down Louisville.
That's right. That's right.
Right. They're a bad idea because God says it's a bad idea. The law says it's a bad idea, but that kind of law, hewing as close as we can to biblical truth and biblical law and judicious examination of the facts is the most protection for every people.
Everyone.
Well, this is why this is the very reason why we've had a collision here with our police.
Right.
Is because it's all about truth. We believe that you do not have to quarantine the healthy, and you should not. It's unconstitutional to quarantine the healthy.
Can I just redefine? They're colliding into us.
Yeah,
like we're not colliding into them at all.
Right,
they're colliding into us, and
it's ultimately over what's true and what's good.
I was talking to my wife about this, and when the officer first starts talking to you, and you put your arm around Tyler, and you say, "This is my friend," and it was like. Is that like kind of taunting or something like this? And my thought was, no. He was acting like a normal human being. Right. It was the officers that were acting in insane ways, and they're being put up to it by our city council. That's what guys do.
Yeah.
This is my buddy. And we're here singing psalms. That's normal. They're the ones colliding into us.
That's right.
We're acting
and
normal.
When you don't care about truth, your laws, your legislation, your resolutions are arbitrary.
If you're the drunk careening all over the highway and you crash into somebody, you crash into me. That's your fault. You can't blame me.
You're the arbitrary drunkard.
I was going down the lanes. I was driving down the road. Truth. Are we in a state of emergency?
Right. Absolutely not.
There is nothing remotely close to a state of emergency.
There's not a ghost of a whisper of a hint
of a shadow.
and what bothers me is Gritman still has the tents up in the parking lot.
Right.
And there is
our scientific hospital.
They're only going to be good for like Halloween, spooky shows.
I know. Yeah.
But, after the whole thing, I had to text a few brothers because this is, to me, my parallels. I said in the first segment, this is back to civil rights fight all over again.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have and Pastor Wilson, please speak to this. You've been talking about race for years, and I don't think people have been listening to you as they ought to. And as I've read so much of your stuff, I feel like it's because of that I can see exactly where we're at again. So the way we respond is really important. The whole civil rights argument that you've been having, that you've been telling, look, that was not the right way to do it. Here we are again, where we can see what's going on and respond wrong, right? And that's why Sean and Rachel was so helpful to this, because it helped me see, no, this is the right response to this. But we're back here again after 50 years, and we've always said, hey, I would never be on that side.
Right.
I would never choose that side.
I would defend Rosa Parks.
I would not pull Rosa Parks off the bus. I would not force you to drink out of a water fountain that this designated to you. I would give black people
Why don't you just wear a mask? Why don't you just sit in the back of the bus?
Right now, and here it is right in front of you. It's like, so who are you with?
And yet we're missing the cues. But act like these guys aren't here for a second.
Wait.
That'll be a follower.
Right now, you got a carriage full of a bunch of horses, and we're all supposed to be going one way, and then something happens, and it can make all of us kind of do separate things. And as a church, I don't want to be thinking like that. I want to be thinking like a body that works together. But for me, when I see those things happening, I'm like, I want to engage in a way that probably, it's like, is Knox a Christian?
The flesh kind of takes over. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.
So you got to tamper part of that.
You're like Peter in the garden with your sword.
Yeah, cutting ears off.
And I think that I'm acting like Samson beating people with a donkey's ass, right?
Jawbone.
Jawbone. Yeah.
Wrong end.
I beat it with all of it. Now.
I'll use all his body parts.
But then you got this other group. I woke up and I looked at social media, and he has other group that are looking like, what is wrong with these people? And they're the kind of people you feel like have you read Martin Luther King's message from the Birmingham jail?
Right.
So could you kind of speak to maybe some balance of that? And what does it look like for us now to engage, knowing this is where we're at?
So the place I would start is your best indicator of how you would have stood up to peer pressure in 1950 is how you're standing up to peer pressure now. Okay? So when everybody's looking at you like you're a bozo, right?
For not wearing a mask.
Right. Not wearing everybody's staring at you. Because if nobody does or says anything if you go somewhere with a mask. Right. If you go into Winco without a mask, or if you go into
Walmart or wherever,
Walmart or a convenience store, you run a good chance of getting yelled at.
Right.
Okay. So a lot of people have cowed and put on a mask, or they avoid going to the store because they don't want to get yelled at, because the mask wearers police it. And oftentimes it's not the stores that police it, it's the other customers that are policing it. Yeah. Now, if you are just docile and okay, and you just cooperate, then that is your best indicator, right? That's your best indicator of what you would have done had Rosa Parks needed your seat,
right,
on the bus. That your very best indicator is how you would handle that is measured by how you would handle this. And one of the things that I've had in my mind for years on my goal as a father, and as a pastor, but fundamentally as a father, I've wanted to raise up children who would be capable of standing up to a lynch mob.
Right.
Because the thing that lynch mobs are unpopular now, right?
Right.
In the history books,
right?
They're unpopular now,
right?
But lynch mobs,
not then.
Well, we call them peaceful protests now.
Yeah. So that's what Portland and Minneapolis and all of these places burning down. Those are lynch mobs.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how mobs work.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
And when people applaud or make excuses for, or that's your best indicator.
Yep.
That's your best indicator.
Yep.
So if you're a liberal leftist and you're applauding and making excuses for murder, rape, theft, looting.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Then you're the one who would be the defender of the strange fruit hanging from trees.
You'd be wearing the Grandmaster's hat.
Well, that's a great reference too.
Yeah.
So basically, the thing that you need to understand is the people with backbone now, who stand up to the mob, are your best bet for the people who would have had backbone then.
That's really good.
The people without backbone now are the people who would have been without backbone then.
Yeah.
All right. We're the ones who are doing the countercultural, counter peer pressure, all the respected opinion tells you this.
Answer the objection that says, yeah, but racism is so obviously objectively sinful and unjust. But masking, there's no verse about masking in the Bible. It says, all men are descended from
Love your neighbor.
One blood in the Bible, but it doesn't say anything about masking in the Bible.
Let me flip it around on you. When eugenics was in its heyday, when racism was the officially acceptable option, it was the science.
That's right.
Okay, it was.
You better preach, preacher.
It was the science.
You better preach, preacher.
All the scientific medical professionals. That's what they said.
Yeah. So basically, if you're one of these people who says, I don't want to argue, I don't want to debate, I just follow the science.
Right.
No, you're not following the science.
That's right.
You're following the peer pressure moment.
Right.
That is being conducted under the banner of science.
Really good.
Yeah.
And science. So Woodrow Wilson, sort of classic, well ensconced racists. the Darwinian racism, the eugenics movement, the Margaret Sanger, all of that.
Yeah.
All of that was science. Right? All of it.
Yeah.
And so now you want me to bow down now? You want me to start bowing and scraping now?
Right.
Yeah.
How many bloody deeds have been done in the name of science? Right? You can't. And so you're anti-science, or you're a cornpone, or you're just a fundamentalist. Well, yeah, you have to be. If you're going to swim against the tide, you've got to be prepared to be called names.
Yeah.
That's part of the cost of doing business. So I followed the arguments. I've read both sides of this debate. I believe the evidence, and I want to believe genuine scientific evidence. Right. But that's not the same thing as science all rise.
We don't have the time to even place that argument inside of with the police. But how do we win our police force back here in our town? How do we win? Because right now, I have a heart for those guys now.
Oh yeah,
because they don't want to be doing that. I don't believe one of them wants to be doing this.
No, I don't think that. I don't believe the cops have been put in an untenable, terrible position by their government. Just like the men who joined the force in Seattle to serve and protect, who were told to stand down when the city was being destroyed. That's tearing them up. And then for these cops here locally to be seeing their brothers who are serving and protecting, guarding against rape and pillage and all kinds of stuff all around the country, who are vilified and attacked and shot at, all sorts of ways, to have them see their brothers treated that way, and then to have their city council turn them into national buffoons. So our city government turned our cops, who are doing a valuable job for us.
Absolutely.
They turned them into the Keystone Cop sort of thing, arresting people for singing Amazing Grace while other cities are burning down. The optics are terrible. They're just terrible. But we didn't create those optics.
Yeah, we were driving in the lane of normal people. We're going to be normal human beings. We're going to praise God in the city square.
We do what we were doing before.
This is the most human thing to do. Is worship the triune God. That's what we were made for. And so we gather and we worship together, and that's being normal. But tyranny and humanism and all these idols, they are the drunk driver weaving all over the highway. And you might manage to miss it a few times, but eventually you have to know that unbelief, it will just collide into godliness and normalcy. And the gospel is made for moments like this.
That's right.
And so, I mean, overwhelmingly, all of us have been, I think, thinking and praying and telling our families, wow, this was a gift.
Amen. That's right.
And hopefully it's a gift actually for our country. I mean, it's getting
a real gift,
like cookies, but it's gotten catapulted. I mean, we didn't plan this. This is all from the Lord, and what a gift that.
If someone had come to me 2 days ago, 3 days ago, and said, "Hey, what you really ought to do is get your protest, get it on Fox News. Get
your psalm sing on Fox News.
Get your psalm sing on Fox News." I would say, "Man, I don't think we have that kind of firepower. I'm not sure we can do that." And then Mayor Lambert comes up and says, "Hold my beer."
Oh man! Well, October 1st through 3rd, we're going to see you guys at the Fight Laugh
Feast. That's like in a couple of days. By the time we're watching this and listening to this,
and well, we're coming fired up.
Club members will be able to live stream the conference.
So if you're not a club member, now would be a good time to sign up, become a club member. If you don't have the Fight Laugh Feast app, get that app and enjoy a bunch of lovely content and become a Fight Laugh Feast club member. So if you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until next week, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. See you in, not Nashville, Franklin! Franklin!